Okay, let's go.
He wants to jump
1,000 cars. Sir, you have 1,000 cars.
I don't think I'd attempt to try this stunt.
Or we owe this horsepower to Uncle Sam.
Too many cars.
Car. Roses would be...
Like I put my beer belly on it.
If you can't immediately tell somebody how many cars you have.
You'll really give those uppity yuppies something to think about.
Stay on the bar. Don't go off the bar with your Bronco.
1980 Volvo horns, what's right? I want the man's coolant.
And he's like, oh, I thought it'd be small. It's for a small car. And I'm like, yeah, but it's still an automatic transmission. They're never going to be light.
It's definitely going to have to crash.
Starting off with Brad buying another car.
That's the West. Internet.
Is this a Nigerian oil print?
I also wish you drove a tan Camry.
Anyways,
Anyway,
that's a
horrible,
very
horrible podcast content.
very
Talking about a picture.
inside joke.
It loves to be driven hard.
Welcome to another episode of Auto Off Topic. How are you, Brad?
I'm good, Andrew. How are you today?
I'm doing just great.
Welcome to Wednesday.
It is Wednesday, my dudes.
Do you remember how last week it was like, I got a lot done in the past week?
Yeah.
This week was not like
Oh,
that.
okay.
I mean, some stuff still got done. So we're okay. But not a lot. So we have some things to talk about.
Okay.
How was your week? Did you get a lot done?
No. Nope, I did not.
That sound confident.
No, I cleaned the back seat. I mean, what do we say? Just do an hour a day? I don't know. I guess it's an hour a day once a week. I cleaned the back seat of the Montero junkyard seat. That came out pretty nice. So I just haven't done anything else with them. I just wanted to clean them at least. So they weren't just like funking up everything.
Sure. And they look better?
They look a lot better. And then I was like thinking about the Gallant. And I was like, oh, that's right. I have a bunch of parts to upgrade the fuel system. And since I have to drain some of the fuel out and disconnect the fuel rail to drain it, and I would have to do that to change the injectors, I'll just do that. But I needed a couple more parts. I didn't have I got used but nice RC550 injectors, but the O-rings on them looked okay, but I was like, I'll just order new O-rings because that'd be really annoying to put them in and have them leak. So I'm waiting for those.
Very much so.
And then it's got the fuel pressure regulator you need to add. I'm like, oh, I don't have any place to mount that. And the way I did it on the Talon was I took on the DSM, at least in the turbo ones, I don't know if yours has it, where that little silver box that's like the injector resistor thing that's on the firewall.
Yeah, on the firewall.
It's sitting on a bracket or just above a bracket that holds some solenoids. Well, I took that one, or I found a second one, and on the Talon, there's an unused threaded 6mm hole on the firewall that bracket lines up with. And then the top of it goes over the pinch weld on the firewall up to the cowl. And you can put a riv nut in there, and then boom, you've got a bracket that fits perfectly. And I mounted the fuel pressure regulator there on the Talon. So, it's crazy because the Gallant firewall is nearly identical. It's so weird that they're such a different car, but like the firewall is nearly identical. Subframes are basically identical, but completely different body.
But there is so much parts sharing that it's it definitely is obviously the same manufacturer.
Yeah. So that hole is also there on the Gallant. But the Gallant uses a different bracket to hold that transistor. It looks slightly different. But I found it's Miller's Import Parts in South Carolina.
Okay.
The guy basically deals exclusively in buying DSMs to just part out. He has a massive junkyard, just just finds them out of other junkyards too sometimes, and just puts them in his junkyard just so he
Sure,
can
I
hoard all the
think
parts and sell them to people that need them.
I may have dealt with him in the past.
Yeah.
What's his full name? Do you know?
Steve Miller.
Familiar with his music, not
Yeah.
him.
I don't know if you like scooch up on the mic a little bit. You're like very, very quiet.
Oh, yeah, no problem. I can do that.
So I order one of those. That's coming. I'll modify it, throw a couple riv nuts in it, and I'll have a place to mount the fuel pressure regulator. I'll have to do the fuel pump rewire. But for now, I want to get the car so it runs smoothly. I'm pretty sure the gas is bad. I don't think the injectors are clogged, but the injectors are original. They're 30-year-old injectors, so maybe they are. Who knows? I put a new fuel filter in it a while back, but I'm going to drain out like half the tank and put some fresh gas in it because I already put half a tank of fresh gas in it. So, and I was thinking of
Maybe change the filter.
Yeah, it should be all right. It's only like 2 years old.
Okay. Well, if the gas is bad, and maybe it's clogged up in there too.
Yeah, I don't know what it would be clogged with. There's nothing really. Car wasn't like sitting for that long.
It's frustrating because it seems like gas lasts 1 year now.
Yeah, and like I don't know, the Talon wasn't that bad, but I've had it out more often and run more fuel through it. But I found some like Advanced sells it. It's like VP, like octane, super octane booster. I was like, oh, I'll throw some of that in there. Maybe it'll help bring it back at least so I can run through that tank.
Sure.
And I'll just get it running and just drive it around without putting a heavy load on the car, going into like stay at a boost, just try to use up some of the fuel that's in there. But I don't know. I want to get that taken care of first, and then I'll figure out. I want to work on some other stuff on the Talon too. Switch out the O2 sensor that's broken for the newer one, or the wideband gauge, and then get working on the front mount for that. I was like, I have all this stuff I got to do that I can do while the cars are just sitting there. And yeah, so that's. I was like, I might as well get that stuff done because I set up shipping for the Volvo.
Yes. Exciting times. You'll have a new project to work on.
Yeah,
and I'll have one less car in my driveway.
It's true. I still need to get the it's still been like cold on and off here. It was finally like a little bit warm today. I got to get the cover off the G20. But
did you received the package I sent you, right, with all the Volvo stuff?
Yeah, I got it.
Have you had a chance to look through the books yet?
Oh yeah.
There's some pretty neat stuff actually in those books. They're like period correct maintenance manuals, basically.
Yeah, one is a glove box size, which I'd never heard of.
It's like a service manual that fits in your glove box.
Yeah. And then the other one is like Autobooks, which I've heard that name before from working at Bentley. But it's interesting because the book, outside of the book, is covered in like plastic, so you can use it in the shop. And then the inside cover has a computer punch card, which are like, those were ancient when I was a kid.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't even from being in book publishing, I'm trying to think of like, I might reach out to some of the people I used to work with who have retired.
Let's see what it's for.
Ask them what it would have been for. Like, I don't know what it would have, like, it's taped to the inside of the book. I thought it was a library card at first. I was like, why is this in here?
Yeah, I remember seeing it when I was flipping through there. I don't remember what it was either.
Like what would it, I can't think of what you would do with it. You wouldn't be able to put it in your computer. It's not going to give you the book files or anything. It literally tells the computer what to do. It's a punch card.
Right.
Like some of I think most of our listeners are they know what I'm talking about. It's like a rectangle card that's about half a foot long, like 6 inches by looks like the size of a bumper sticker. And you can see it's got all the code on it, and it's got punch outs. And you'd put that in a computer, and it would read the punch outs, and that would somehow tell it to do something. Like, this is the type of computer that would probably have like giant reels of tape on it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it would be for, honestly.
Like it's the
I have no
like it'd be like the original like Italian Job, where it's the computer controlling the Milan traffic.
Yeah, something like that. It actually reminded me of going back to like the 90s, working somewhere, like the punch card you punched in and out of work with. But instead of punching your time in it, you actually was already punched for a different reason.
Oh my God, I forgot about having a physical punch card.
Right.
But yeah,
I mean, that's how I used to punch in and out of work.
I don't know what it would be for. It's weird. I'm going to look into it more because it's baffling me. But you know, it's got
somebody will go, "Oh, that's for this."
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Thanks.
But I really love old service manuals like that because they just have it's just funny language in them. Like I was reading through it, and there's one it's telling you how to check the gap in the distributor. And it's like, oh, you can use cigarette papers.
Right. Which everybody has just in their pocket.
Yeah, then, and it's just giving you different tips on like fixing stuff and how certain things are like, oh, this might be far too complicated for your home garagist. You may need to go to a specialist that has electronic diagnostic equipment. This is for like setting the ignition timing, it's like you need a stroboptic ignition timing light.
No, I don't think I do.
Which I suppose wasn't maybe common in the early 70s to have in your home garage.
I don't know, maybe not. It seems so common now. You can buy it at Harbor Freight for like $0 if you wanted to.
So I don't know.
Oh, it's funny because I was talking to a family member the other day who used to drive one of these Volvos. And they were talking about how expensive and complicated it was and had to go to the Volvo dealer every time to get it worked on. And I was like, honestly, it's like the world's most rudimentary car. But I'm assuming that people just thought it was more complicated because they didn't know anything about it.
So the reason why companies like the company I used to work for, Bentley Publishers, took off in providing service manuals was that foreign cars became more popular in the United States and people did not know how to fix them. So they started releasing service manuals here for Volkswagens, Audis, British cars, Volvos, because it was like, even though there are like literally, it's really not that much different from a American car. It's just a 4-cylinder instead of a V8. Like the principle is the same. It's a pushrod engine.
It's literally identical to a British car of the era.
It's like, it's really, really close to a British car.
It was just funny. They were talking about how they had to bring it to Volvo for service because that was the only person that could service it, and it was always expensive to fix it. So they told a story of needing motor mounts and not being able to afford to get both done. So they got one motor mount done, and then the car just every time they drove away would just like lurch to the left until they could afford to get the other motor mount done.
Strange. Because it's probably even easier than doing on a V8 car.
You can like see it from the top or the bottom without even trying hard.
Then it's also the same thing this is the same thing that we ran into with Japanese cars, that nobody wanted to work on Japanese cars for a long time because they were too weird, too foreign.
And now nobody wants to work on old cars because they're too weird. Like, no, they're way easier.
Well, in some cases.
But they're not, because you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. Well, again, it's that whole, like, the stuff we like from the 80s and 90s is stuck in that mid, like, not old, not new, hard to diagnose. But, like, stuff like this Volvo, like, yeah, we couldn't get it started in 10 seconds in the driveway, but whatever's broken on it is going to be fairly simple to diagnose once you take the head off. I just wasn't going to dig that deep into the project. So, all right, you might even be able to take off the rockers and look at and pull the push rods out and see if they're bent. Like, it could be something super simple, but I just didn't get a chance to look at it. But something like, the Eclipse or the Galant, where there's no check engine light, and you're trying to diagnose some weird electrical failure from a 40-year-old part, you get lost
You
on.
can't do it without the book. You have to have the service manual.
Right. You need the book.
Because that tells you all the tips on how it works. And that's the problem that I've talked about before. That information does not exist on the internet. So no amount of...
Starting. People are starting to scan things in and...
Barely. But
keep
if you
them places.
if you don't scan them and they're not optically recognized, search cannot find it. And so
Right.
no amount of AI will help you fix that car correctly.
Correct.
Unless somebody's written it out
Well, it's
somewhere.
like the TPS reset procedure on Starion Conquest.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a 37 line long process that nobody's going to know how to do unless you have a book, because it doesn't make common sense at all.
No.
So,
And that's why I collect these old service manuals.
yeah, I was just at a used bookstore here the other day, and I bought a mid-70s Colt manual. A, because it looked cool, and B, because it's one I didn't have, even though it's not a factory manual, which I already have.
Yeah. But somebody has scanned a lot of the old Volvo ones, and I have to play with it some more. I had it open in Acrobat, and I couldn't get it to recognize the text, strangely. So, because if you're using Acrobat Pro, it does have some Adobe AI built into it. It will summarize a PDF now, which could be useful if you can get it to recognize the text that you're looking at. Something I'm trying to figure out. Trying to figure out ways to make it useful, because right now there's not really a lot of ways that it's useful. It's really weird.
Sure.
It's just good at co-opting and stealing other people's work.
That seems to be what all AI things are good for right now.
Yeah. But if you can figure out how to make it useful for highly advanced search, which is really what it is, that would be very useful. But anyway, that's an interesting way to get there from a 69 Volvo to AI.
Yeah, with nothing in between. As it sits right now, the car, I haven't touched it in a few days, but I did put some Marvel Mystery Oil down the spark plug holes just to see if it helps free some stuff up.
Yeah, I don't know if the rings are stuck. It could be from sitting.
It's the only way to find out, right?
It's worth a shot of a few ounces of Marble Mystery Oil in there. And
Yep, absolutely.
that's supposedly, you read on the internet, people have brought back engines with zero compression by putting Mystery Oil in there for a few days in each cylinder. So, it usually happens, right? When an engine sits, the rings just get compressed and it's like it won't run to get warm enough to make them pop back out. So you need something to free them up.
Which in this case would be Marvel Mystery Oil. Sweet. Well, in my project car world, I did a couple small things. I think we last left off, the Starion needed a radiator. I have measured up the radiator. Did I talk about that? I think I did.
No.
I talked about needing a radiator,
You
right?
did.
Okay. So I measured up the radiator and looked at where the inlet and outlet were and looked all over it to make sure there were no other inlets and outlets on it, which there are not. So all it has is just the upper and lower radiator hose. And I couldn't find a radiator for the car that was less than $500, which is absurd because it's a $500 car. So I dug a little deeper, took the measurements, and we have a speed shop here in town. It's like a mail order catalog called Speedway Motors. I've talked about them before, actually. I bought the lowering blocks for the Corolla from those guys. They had in stock a radiator that is that size. Exactly. With the upper and lower hoses in the correct positioning. Should hopefully fit in the car. I have to go down and pick it up. $160. So it's a 2-row aluminum, 2.25-inch core, which is much more cooling capacity than even the factory one has. In fact, it's overkill. It's actually for a big block Chevy. So it should work just fine, though. I don't see why it wouldn't, unless you have a better idea for me, Andrew. But I think that should work perfectly, because all we're doing is trying to cool. Doesn't matter what the application for the thing is, right?
No, it should be
it's like
fine.
a universal style. Yeah, the Starion has almost like a channel in the bottom the radiator sits in, and then I can just fabricate some kind of brackets out of sheet metal for the top. So that should be pretty simple, because the car does not have a electric fans. It has a mechanical fan. So there's no coolant temp sensor on the radiator itself to run electric fans. So for $160, hopefully it works. And if it doesn't, well, we'll figure out something else, I guess. But it should work. And it's a pretty polished aluminum one in the not shiny, rusty engine bay. So it'll be obvious that it's there. So, and then I can at least drive the car, which is the main goal here, is just to drive the car. So these have a pretty good rating as far as the product itself. So hopefully it works out. What else have I done? I dug out the Sapporo for the first time in over a year. Oops. Thankfully, it did not succumb to bad gas. It had a full tank of gas, or almost a full tank of gas. I put, I think, 4 gallons in it when I left just to get some fresh gas in it. And it drove mostly fine. There were a couple times it wanted to kind of sputter and die, but once you got the fuel flowing through it, everything worked well. So we had a Arizona Classic Japanese Car Club event on Sunday last week at South Mountain, and it was the only car I have that runs and drives that hasn't been there. So I figured I should probably bring it to that event. So I did that. And then I think the biggest news is we got an engine in for the Mustang.
Nice.
Yeah. I think I told the story here about the engine company in Washington. It is a correct casting number Ford 302, set up exactly as the 68 302 is supposed to be. It's a long block, so its heads are on and the crank is installed. All we have to do is put on our intake manifold, oil pan, valve covers, basically, and then the ancillary devices on the front, water pump, alternator, that kind of stuff. But so that is here. That came via a truck and a pallet to our front yard. And let me tell you, as a residential address, getting a pallet dropped off in your driveway is not convenient. It's not convenient. It's
more convenient than going to get it.
Maybe. If I'd gone to get it, yeah, probably more.
You would have been getting it out of a pickup truck.
Yeah. It might have made it easier, actually. And here's why. So, you're familiar with an engine crane?
Yeah.
The legs on the bottom of an engine crane are spread at a 30-something degree angle at the joint point.
Sure.
So they can fit in between the front wheels of the car going over the radiator support. But they're so narrow together that they don't fit around a pallet.
Nope.
To lift the engine off the pallet.
Nope.
So now we have this engine on a pallet and no way to lift it off the pallet. And it was like a pyramid of pallets this thing came on. Like, it wasn't just on the bottom pallet. There were 2 pallets on top of the pallet of smaller sizes to get to the engine on top.
Cut away the big pallet.
Which was... We did, but at first we were trying to figure out how to pick up the whole thing palletized. And it just wasn't working for sure. So maybe it's because we were tired. Maybe it's because it was nighttime. Maybe it's because we hadn't had dinner yet. But man, it was not an easy task to figure out how to get that thing off the stupid pallet. Because the worst part was that on the top pallet, where the engine was sitting, it's only attached to the pallet via metal strapping wrapped around the engine to the pallet on top of wood that's cut to like set the engine into. So when you cut the top pallet off, the engine is no longer supported by anything. So that was another issue we were having. And we couldn't pick it up with the engine crane, which was our plan all day. So eventually we did wind up sliding the middle pallet off the bottom pallet, and then sliding the top pallet off the middle pallet. And we went to Harbor Freight and picked up a couple of those rolling carts they have, like the flatbed.
Yeah, the moving
little
ones?
carpet covered with 4. Yeah, I don't know what they're called.
They're made for moving.
Moving carts? Sure. So we picked up 2 of those because that was about the size of the top pallet. And we were able to lift the pallet with the engine on it just enough with a combination of 2x4s and a floor jack to get the one pallet under one side, and then one moving dolly under one side and the other moving dolly under the other. So now it's sitting on moving dollies out of the way, and the bonus of this whole thing is now the engine crane could pick the engine up from these pallets because the smallest pallet on top is now narrow enough to fit. So it was a whole comedy of errors trying to figure out how to move it. And the 2 of us not being equipped here to move an engine without having proper pallet jacks and other hoisting systems other than just that engine crane wasn't pretty, but we got it taken care of. So it's now out of the way, and that's all that matters. So we have this weekend's project to do some more under hood restoration of the Mustang to prep it for the engine to be installed. So we are moving along finally. So that's a good thing. We have the only rust in the car I think I've talked about before is on the top of the apron on both the left and right side under the hood. Apparently it's a common spot for Mustangs to rust. So we have that to take care of, and the battery tray, because like most old cars, the battery tray has rust. So we have a brand new battery tray as well. But that's all coming up pretty quickly. So hopefully we'll have the engine bay prepped to start assembling things in the next couple of weeks. Fingers crossed. So that was the big project car stuff around here. It did require moving the Starion again, which started and drove just totally fine. Started right up, like third crank. Like, it's weird. Car doesn't feel like it's sad at all. It runs so good. So, other than that, there hasn't been any other project car stuff happening here. Oh, wait. Yes, there has. That was a big one. I forgot all about it. You know about this already, Andrew.
Oh, wait, there's more.
Discord knows about this. Yeah. I've put this in the back of my head because it annoyed me. I blew up the Corolla.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, me too. And now I'm mad that I remembered. So, I haven't been driving the Mercor or the 944 at all. And the reason for that is because the Eclipse is still broken. And I didn't want to blow up 2 cars at the same time. And both of those cars, to me, are of the type where something weird could happen. I don't think that they're unreliable or going to blow up. But if I were to put money on another car breaking, whilst the Eclipse was down, the car that would break would be the 944 or the Mercor. So I just haven't been driving them. I have been driving the Corolla, and I have been driving the Colt and the Sapporo and the Cressida. I drove actually all three of them this weekend: the Corolla, the Cressida, and the Sapporo. So I went the other day. I was coming home from, I don't know, some event in Scottsdale, and by the time I got home, I smelled oil, and I said, "That's weird. No big deal. I'll look at it later." Went out and looked at it, and there was oil leaking on the intake manifold. It was like pooled up in a couple of spots. So my thought process was, oh, I bet this needs a valve cover gasket, because that's right where it looked like it was leaking from. So I said, well, I'm going to order a valve cover gasket and keep an eye on it until that part comes in. There was an event Saturday morning. I wanted to go to 4 till 4 for a shakedown. And I got in the Corolla about, 6:30 a.m., fired it up, went around the block, made it to the first major intersection with the lights at it. And I was sitting there and I saw smoke coming out around the hood edge. And I was like, oh, that's not good. So I pulled into the AM PM gas station, popped the hood open, and saw that there was smoke literally pouring out of the breather filter on the valve cover. Now, this car has a breather filter because at some point in its life, it was switched to a Weber carburetor. And when you switch to a Weber carburetor, you lose a lot of those recirculation PCV lines because they go into the stock air cleaner, basically. So instead of having that, it has the breather on the valve cover. And the smoke was literally pouring out of it. And I was like, oh, that's not good. I wonder if my PCV is stuck. Well, I wasn't too far from home, so I just drove it home. I was maybe a mile away. I pulled up front and opened the hood, and it was still pouring out. So I took off all of the PCV stuff, and I checked, for any clogs. Checked the PCV valve. It worked the way it should work. Kind of wiped everything down. The filter seemed like it was pretty clogged with oil, as it was, because it was literally smoking out of it. So I had another filter of similar size because the Cressida has the same setup on it with the Weber. So I just pulled the filter off that car, put it on the Corolla, and I was like, well, hopefully it's just clogged. And I cleaned up everything else, drove off, made it the same distance, and smoke was pouring. Went home again. It's pouring out of the new filter. So obviously there's a crankcase pressure issue, it felt like. Well, a couple things can cause a crankcase pressure issue, right? Could be a clogged PCV valve. It could be a cracked vacuum line somewhere. So I checked both those things again. I checked the PCV valve again. Still totally fine. I went through all of the vacuum lines, and there were a couple that were questionable. They had some cracks in them. There were a couple of vacuum caps that were on parts that no longer work for the vehicle because of the elimination of the factory intake setup. So I replaced all those vacuum caps. I replaced all the vacuum lines with all brand new lines, made sure everything was fresh. There are no more vacuum leaks. I sprayed some brake clean and some other stuff around the vacuum lines to see if there's any change in rev. Nothing seemed any different at all. So I was like, all right, maybe we fixed it. So I did that same round the block drive. Nope, still smoking. So then I got home and said, well, there's only a couple things that can be now. I could have cracked a ring, or I could have something really wrong in the valve train. So I did a compression test to start, and the number 3 cylinder has half the compression of the other 3. So that's bad, obviously. So with the combination of the cylinder 3 being down that far on compression, and all of the oil smoke blow-by coming out of the PCV system, seems like a pretty good chance that I have something wrong internally in the block in cylinder 3. More than likely, something's wrong with the ring. So either cracked the rings or I don't know. But this engine only has 20,000 miles on it, which is incredibly frustrating. I didn't rebuild it. It was rebuilt at a shop somewhere in Tucson. Unfortunately, more years ago than a warranty would allow for, but not that many miles ago. So now I'll have to dig into it and find out what's wrong. I still haven't done a wet compression test by putting a little oil down the cylinder and checking the compression again to see if it comes back. But I mean, I'm pretty certain that it's not going to be a valve drain issue. It's going to be a piston ring issue. So that's where the Corolla sits now. And with the Eclipse still looming and the Mustang project now looming, I genuinely don't think I'm going to get to fix this car anytime soon. There's a lot ahead of it. So
Why don't you just put the head
maybe,
on the
maybe not.
Eclipse?
Yes, that is happening soon. I'm still trying to figure out a timing cover situation.
That doesn't matter, though. You can put the whole thing together and have it all timed without the cover. The cover goes on nearly last.
It does. It does. I'm just trying to get it all done so I can just slam through it and get it taken care of.
Yeah, but you could,
That was
like, the heavy work is getting the head on and setting the timing.
Yeah, but also if I go through all that and then I don't have a timing cover, I'm going to be mad.
Why? It's done.
It's not done.
Yeah, but it's done.
Put the
More
timing
done
cover on,
than
and
it
you
is
got to put on all
now.
the
sitting
belts
without
and the
head on.
pulleys. And I know, I'm just frustrated by it. It's a weird mental block. It really is. It's a weird mental
I'd
block.
rather get all of that done and just be waiting on parts.
If I was waiting on parts, it'd be one thing, but I can't even find the stupid thing. That's the frustrating part. I don't know. A good friend who you know, Keith, thought he found one the other day, but it was unfortunately an early one. It was new old stock too. Would have been perfect.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I would still put it together.
It's not perfect. I rationally, I hear what you're saying, but there's some kind of weird mental block and I can't get to it. So we'll get there. I actually was talking to our friend Josh the other day, and he is saying the same thing as you, and he's even volunteered to come over and help. So
if he helps you, it'll
I
be
think
on
that
in
might
like
be happening
2 or 3 hours
a day. Yeah,
and then it's like
it'll be one day.
Not a big deal. You can just leave the crank pulley off as soon as you have the cover, because even the cover even goes around the water pump. You can have the water pump on there. Like it's like yeah.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
it's like
inside.
You're like 99% done. You can
I know,
95. Like you can put the cover on,
well,
put the crank pulley
watch
on,
this space.
Put your belts back on, your accessory belts, and then it's pretty much there.
He's coming over next weekend to help out, so should have it all together that day. And hopefully I'll have maybe even timing cover by then.
Yeah, I mean, either way, it's progress is progress, man.
Yeah, well, tell out to my stupid brain. So, anyway, he's coming over next weekend, and we're doing that next weekend. We were going to do it this weekend, but we're actually going to a rallycross instead.
Ah, okay. Yeah, so that's fine. I'll allow it.
Yeah. Well, I haven't been to a rallycross in, I don't know, 15 years? So, it's been a long time. Maybe not quite 15 years, but probably close to it. So, I'm not driving anything in the rallycross. I'm just going up and kind of hanging out for the day and supporting him and his gallant. Just kind of should be a fun day. I've wanted to get involved a little bit more with the rally community here anyway. I haven't met much of them since I've moved here. I've met the actual stage rally community, but I haven't met the rallycross guys. So should have some crossover. just like there was, just like there is in the East Coast. But anyway, yeah, that's the those are the progress updates or lack thereof. The project down date, I guess, is that one. So that's about it. What else do you have, Andrew?
That's all I got.
All right,
I'm almost
well,
there. I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to do stuff. I still haven't swapped off snow tires. My back wasn't feeling it the other day, and I got to do all that.
I went to a used bookstore the other day.
Yep.
We have a chain of bookstores here in Phoenix. I don't know how far it reaches. I know they're here. It's called Bookman's. And they have all kinds of stuff, but they also sell magazines. So I was going through and then had somebody's collection of car and drivers from the 80s.
Okay.
So, of course, I picked up some car and drivers from the 80s. What I wanted to bring up was a couple of things. One, when there was no internet to call you out immediately on things, you could say anything you wanted in a magazine and nobody cared. There is some wild stuff in these books that I will not even bring up on the podcast because it swings politically. And certainly not politically correctly. And I was laughing thinking about the fact that this was the book that I read as a child. You know, I read every Car and Driver, every Road and Track, and that's how I learned about cars, right?
Yeah.
But also, I would read everything in these books, and you would certainly have your mind swayed in certain directions. So I've talked before about how angry I get at how angry people get at bicycles, right?
Yeah.
In the June 1984 issue of Car and Driver magazine, P.J. O'Rourke, who was a writer for Car and Driver for decades, wrote an entire column, which was entitled, this is a long title, A Cool and Logical Analysis of the Bicycle Menace and Examination of the Actions Necessary to License, Regulate, or Abolish Entirely This Dreadful Peril on Our Roads. This is Car and Driver magazine.
Yeah. So, I mean, shitposting in magazines has just shifted to shitposting on social medias. Like, people have these
right,
takes
but at
too
least
on
in social media.
still.
But on social media, you can be called out for it, and it's just taken as one person's wild opinion. Printing it in a heavily circulated magazine is a whole nother situation.
Is it?
I think it is for sure, because there's no way to combat it unless you write a letter to the editor next month.
And that's what people
And
would do
even
back
then-
then.
But they only print what they want to print. And then on top of it, it's being taken as fact because you're a writer for a magazine. You were held, I thought, to a higher standard. So, do you want to know what his 7 reasons for hating bicycles are?
Sure.
He broke the article into 7 principal arguments to make. Number 1, bicycles are childish. Bicycles are undignified. Bicycles are unsafe. Bicycles are un-American. 5 is my favorite one. I don't like the kind of people who ride bicycles. It's just, I was just reading this and I was just, my mind was blown. Why are bicycles un-American, Andrew?
I don't know, but it's editorial stuff. It's just like what happens today. It's
Yeah, I guess. It seems so different because you would never see that in a magazine
so
now, I don't think.
the big thing is that like editorials are now think pieces instead of just calling them editorials where it's just your opinion. So it's not really reporting on anything. It's just literally your opinion. So it's probably his column. And
No, it's not his column. This is an article in the middle of the magazine. He also has a column. This is a separate article with an illustration and everything. Anyway, the reason I wanted to bring it up was because how it ties into this podcast more than just that is we read all these magazines, even today, and people are always decrying that this will be the end of whatever. This will be the end of this. This will be the end of that. This will be gone. Cars will be gone. Gas will be gone. Hot rodding cars is gone. There's always something that's going to be gone, right? And going back to these magazines from the 1980s, this particular article about bicycles ended with a sentence. It's simply a matter of natural selection. The bicycle will be extinct within the decade, and what a relief that will be. So, much like today, all of these articles just come into, don't worry about it, it'll be gone in 10 years. And that hasn't changed at all. Because we're still reading magazines today where the editorial will be about, like I just said, gasoline. And they'll be like, what are we going to do with all these gasoline cars when gasoline's no longer available? It'll be not available in 10 years. It'll be not available in 15 years. What are we going to do with all of this stuff? And it just, going back to these magazines, there is so much stuff about what's coming, what's gone, what's going to be gone forever. And in reading these 5 magazines that I bought, I found, no less than 5 or 6 of those of similar predictions of things that will be extinct in the next 10 years. And they're all here. So let's calm down and just enjoy our gas cars alongside of our electric car friends, because there's no fear of anything going away. And it just struck me, the whole, everything's going to be gone. There isn't going to be anything left. We've been saying it since at least June of '84. And I'm sure before that as well. So that's really what I wanted to bring it all up for, because I was laughing reading these things about all the new tech that's coming out and things you're going to see, and either what didn't happen or all the fear mongering in these magazines. None of it's happened. Carburetors still exist. Fuel still exists. Life is still good. Just different. So anyway, just a small aside. I do have some articles to take pictures of and post it in the Auto Off Topic page, because there's some neat stuff in here. So specifically a Superstock and Drag Illustrated magazine from 1976 that is just chock full of Colt drag racing content.
Yep. That's cool.
So, yeah. Anyway, want to play a game?
Sure.
What game do you want to play?
Craig, don't tell me.
I think it's the only game we got, so let's play it.
All right. All right. Want to go first? As in, you ask me?
I can. Let's see. We're going to start with a Craig, don't tell me. That's actually from Facebook Marketplace. So I don't think it's cheating. Is that cheating? It's not cheating.
Nope.
All right. I'm actually going to tell you what this car is listed as, because it's not what it is. So you have to guess what this car actually is. 1970 Aston Martin. There was no option for advertising this car, so I had to pick another make.
Oh.
All capitals. It is not an Aston Martin.
Uh-oh.
This is a blank, blank, blank. Super rare and very cool. 1970. I'll give you that. That is the correct year. Blank, blank. As comfortable as a Citroen DS, but much, much, much cheaper. This is the world's first mass-produced hatchback. Over 1 million made and sold all over most of the world. They were imported here in very small numbers from 1969 and onward for the next 3 years. Aluminum 1.6 liter engine, 4-speed manual transmission. This blank was sold new in Southern California and made its way to Phoenix. It was parked in 1984 and has been sitting for the last 40 years. Obviously indoors because it is immaculate. There's both service documents for when the car was new and a logbook from the previous owner showing when he filled up the car, did a service and or repair work. The mileage is a little over 80,000. The cylinder head was off the engine when I bought it. The cylinders looked new, no wear or ridge. I had the head planed and the valves reground and the head installed again. Car shouldn't have a new carburetor and then be started. The car was sold new with air conditioning. The compressor is missing, but since the old compressor was pretty useless even when new, you can install a modern AC compressor anyway. The car is in really good condition, rust-free. The interior is even good, rare for a Southwest car. You will not find another one in the US if you want one. My price, $3,500 cash. Is Brad going to buy this car when he does end this podcast? Probably, yes.
My goodness. Wow, the first.
So there's not many specs in there.
Hatchback.
First mass-produced hatchback. It is a 1.6 liter aluminum 4-cylinder,
And it's
with a
listed
4-speed.
as an Aston Martin.
It is listed as an Aston Martin. And I can tell you right now, that doesn't give you any clues.
Oh, so it's not British.
And I will, clue number 1, it is not British.
So you just didn't even try to pick a name of a car from the correct country. All right.
You know, this might be a hint. I don't think you can buy a car from this country, in this country at all right now.
Oh, okay.
It's a 5-passenger, 4-door hatchback.
Oh,
It is mid-engined, front-wheel drive.
what? It's definitely all right. So it's Russian.
The engine is in the front, but is behind the front axle, so it is considered mid-engined, front-wheel drive. What did you say it is?
It's Russian.
Well,
It's a Lada.
ultimately, it is not Russian. It was sold in Russia. If you saw it, you might think it's Russian, but it is not Russian.
It's a Lada.
It is not Russian.
Okay. So it's a
They made this car from 1965 to 1980. They made 1.8 million of them worldwide.
some sort of a Fiat.
Can you buy a Fiat in this country right now?
You can't you?
And yes, but I said you cannot buy a car this car because manufactured in this country right now.
Well, it's not a Renault. It's not a Citroen. This is an extremely obscure car.
I never said it wasn't a Renault or a Citroen. I said it wasn't a Citroen.
I guess it's a Renault, but I don't know which one.
It is a Renault, yes. Do you even have any memory of what a Renault would have been in 1970?
No, I don't.
Okay, so it's a Renault 16.
I don't even know what that looks like.
I'll send you a picture later because I don't know how to describe it. It looks like
The 4-door hatch.
It's a 4-door hatch. Yeah. I genuinely want this car. It's only $3,000.
16.
Yeah, it's good.
Oh. Yeah, it's a weird car.
Yep.
Yeah, that's like
there's one for sale here for $3,500.
yeah, I don't. That's like, if you're doing a movie and it's like an alternate timeline, like that's a car you throw in there because it just doesn't even make any sense. It's just like,
Yeah, sure. Well, we were talking in the Discord today about the car in the new Fallout TV show, right?
yeah,
Which is a Kaiser. Oh, no, I forget the name of that. Is it a Darren?
I think it's a Darren. Yeah, it's a convertible.
Yeah, the one with the sliding doors and the fenders. Like that's a weird car for their alternate timeline.
Well,
So, anyway, yeah, that was a hard mode one, and I apologize, but I couldn't not use it.
well, on a side, did you ever play the Fallout games?
I tried to play one of them. I never got into it.
The show was very, very good. You would like the show, and you don't even need to play the video games because I haven't played one of the video games in a very long time. It's just that it's alternate timeline, basically, where after World War II, everything became nuclear powered, like cars, everything, and basically the technology just stayed as it was in the 1950s for whatever reason, except everything was nuclear powered. So the cars they use are like off-brand cars that were sold here.
Like Kaiser.
Yeah, so because they look different. To anybody who's not a car person, it just looks really odd. It's not a typical
Especially the Darren.
Yeah, it's not a typical 1950s car.
Cool. I'll have to watch the show.
Yeah.
But I never really played the games because I'm more of like an instant gratification video game kind of guy.
Yeah, they're very slow.
Too much of a
to
slow
play.
burn. Yeah.
But
too much of a slow burn. I've never been able to sit and play through a game that takes like time to build up to anything. I need to have the game go right away. Like I've always liked sports video games and driving video games. So,
all right,
your turn.
I am selling my blank. This 47-year-old car is a true survivor. Car has 34,000 miles on it. Former elderly owner bought it new in Knoxville, Tennessee. I am the second owner. Car's always been in a garage. It shows meticulous condition, no dents, rust. Never seen a New England winter. Being top of the line blank model, it has power windows, power front seat, cruise control, AC, power trunk button, AM 8-track cassette, digital clock. Beautiful laid-out roof is in perfect condition. Everything in this car is fully functional, including the air conditioning. Interior is mint condition with no rips or tears. Many parts newly replaced, including radiator, blah blah blah. Car drives extremely smooth. Definitely turns heads. Has original rally wheels covered with wire spoke hubcaps. Also included chrome wheel rings and wheel center caps for a sportier look. Car is rare and remarkable collector's gem. Unfortunately, these ads are not super descriptive. We've been finding lately, so that's the best I got for you.
So I'm going to go with a couple of key points here. Rally wheels, 1977.
Yep. Well, it gave you it told you how old it was.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So it's 1977 with rally wheels.
Yep.
There wasn't much left with rally branded wheels then, except maybe a Pontiac. So my assumption with a roof is going to be some kind of a Brougham model. And it's going to be like a 77 Grand Prix.
Nope.
First answer.
Incorrect.
Did you say no? Do I have the right manufacturer? Like
no.
Manufacturer group?
Nope.
No. What else had rally wheels in 77? That wasn't GM. I guess maybe Dodge still did. Maybe. 77 with a partial vinyl top. Could be a Cordoba. Is there any kind of information on engine or transmission or anything? Because basically all I have to do now is guess 1977 car with a Landau top, which is all of them.
Yeah. It's also, prosthetic limb, yellow beige.
Okay. Now I'm picturing a Cordoba. There's nothing about engine, transmission.
No, nothing.
Oof. I'm again 77 Monaco, Dodge Monaco.
Nope.
Is it a Chrysler product?
Nope.
Okay, it's not a GM or a Chrysler.
Nope.
So it's a Ford product.
Yes.
Okay, I was way off. I don't know if Ford had a rally wheel in 77.
It's definitely a Malaise vehicle.
Oh, 77. Landau top. How many doors does it have?
4 doors.
4 doors. So it's an LTD?
Nicer.
So it's a Lincoln town car?
Maybe it's not. Maybe
nice?
it's nicer. I don't know. It's would be an alternate to an LTD.
So it's a Mercury Grand Marquis.
No. I guess
I'm not going to get it. I'm going to guess every car built that point. So
yeah.
The Grand Marquis I think would have been an LTD equivalent, or maybe a Zephyr.
This is a Ford Granada Ghia.
Oh, cool. So, embarrassingly, I know the Granada is a smaller car than an LTD.
Yeah, I realized that after I'm looking at it. It's hard to tell. Nothing next to it.
The Granada would have been like the replacement for the Torino.
This is a terrible car. This is a nice example of a terrible car.
Yeah, that's the kind of car that's just like, it's a car.
It's just like a background movie car for something set in the 80s.
It's car. It's car.
Yeah.
What is that? It's a car. I'd probably drive it if it's really nice, just because. But just not forever.
We were talking about this on the Volvo. I really appreciate they've got year of manufacturer plates on it, so it looks really good with it's got, the mass plate with the white, the red letters. It looks perfect on the car.
Yeah. Take a grainy picture; it'll look like it's in period.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's kind of neat. I'd like have one to I don't know, daily for a little bit and then move on for another car because I'd be tired of it pretty quickly. But that's a car. And that's all I could say about that.
Yep. Yeah, I know it was gonna be a tough one because there wasn't much to go off of.
No, and like I said, 77 with a Landau top is. You can get a Camaro, I think, with a Landau top in 77. So there wasn't much you couldn't. I know you can get a Mustang with a Landau top because it was also called a Ghia. So, all right, blank. Rust-free Arizona car, second owner, factory paint and stripes, glass rear window, alloy wheels, recently sorted out car, bumper to bumper, new suspension, 4 new struts, new tires, brand new alignment. But I made a mistake at low speed in the rain and slid into a curb. The front fender and hood are likely available for $600. Rear suspension needs to be replaced. Fresh engine service, tune-up, plugs, wires, etc. Flushed and filled transmission, and rear transmission drive assembly. Bring a trailer or tow dolly. Copy of clean VIN background with all green check marks available. I have a video of the engine running. Can see and hear the tachometer working in full range and smooth idle. 5-speed transmission. Rear wheel drive. 145,000 miles. What kind of car are we talking about that is freshly restored and then freshly smashed? Now, I will tell you that this car looks like it was probably pretty clean, but now it needs a fender, a hood, a right headlamp, probably the apron and strut housing based on how far the fender is kicked in. The passenger side rear wheel is pointing downward towards the ground and towards the front of the car, and the wheel is cracked. And they want $7,000 for it.
I I
You own one of these.
I own one of these.
Mm-hmm. Your family does anyway.
Oh. Okay, it's a Super Beetle.
It is not a Super Beetle.
Okay.
Think of another car with a glass rear window option.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Miata makes sense.
So this is a 95 Miata.
Yeah.
With 150,000 miles on
Yeah.
it. With a broken rear suspension subframe and fender apron hood, headlight assembly, and front strut. And he wants $7,000 for it.
The car's totaled.
It has a clean title, though, only because he hasn't put his insurance claim in this time yet. Or he printed it before he put his insurance claim in. One or the other. Yeah, this is wild. He just casually mentions it right in the middle of the whole thing. Like, new suspension, new struts, new tires, new alignment. But I made a mistake in the low speed in the rain. I slid into a curb. Don't worry about that part, though.
Oh, boy. Yeah, that's no good.
Yeah. It's definitely no good. His tires are called, they're Foursome D600s. That might have been his problem.
Foursome.
It's F, and then it has O that's like a sunset. RCEUM.
They're for some cars. Maybe not that car.
Yeah, not that car. A Foursome D600. So that might be his problem there. But, yeah, I'll send you this link to this. It's pretty funny. It looks like it was a clean car before he smashed into a curb. Oh, boy. All right, your turn.
All right.
My last one should be easier. Maybe not.
Early blank car with 4-speed and stainless steel upper bumper. Originally blue. Car was repainted Chrysler Rally Red on previous ownership. Body modifications include fiberglass fenders, front and rear, fiberglass hood, front spoiler, roll bar installed with competition seat belts. Engine modifications under prior ownership include Del Toro DHLA 45 carbs and a 104 cam. Other alterations include Mallory distributor with an MST ignition, aluminum flywheel, aluminum radiator, Monza exhaust with chromed 421 header, stabilizer bars added front and rear for flatter cornering, some rust and driver's side rocker panel shown in pictures. That's it.
Stainless upper bumper?
Yeah.
What's a 4-cylinder car?
Yep.
They made up like stainless bumpers on Triumphs, but it wouldn't be an upper bumper. Ugh. It's obviously a foreign car, the 4-into-2-into-1 header and the Lortos.
And a Monza, yeah.
Yeah.
It's got slot mags on it.
Could be anything. Is it a Triumph?
I mean,
TR4?
You're in the right genre.
Stainless upper bumper. I think that's what's throwing me more than anything, because I can think of a car that has like a lower bumper that wouldn't be stainless. 914.
No, you were closer with the Triumph. Like what might be like a off-brand Triumph?
I saw an MG.
Even more off-brand.
Oh.
This car, people definitely would tell you all the time. They definitely ask you all the time if it's a Triumph.
And it's British.
It is British. I'll give you that.
It's not a drive for an MG. Oh, is it something? I guess maybe off-brand. Is that wrong? Is that Jensen Healy?
It is.
Yeah.
74 Jensen Healy.
I can't picture that stainless upper bumper.
Yeah, it's got a rubber
yellow.
bumper
They're all
and
yellow.
the strip on top is stainless.
Okay.
But it's like they did a better job integrating like impact bumpers into this thing.
Yeah, because they weren't sold here, I don't think.
It looks like an impact bumper. I don't know. It's weird. It's like you took a Triumph and put a body kit on it or something. Because everybody's just going to ask you.
Yeah,
if it's a Triumph.
they're neat looking. Yeah, they're neat looking.
And the engine's cool. It's got like a twin cam slanted over. I'll send you this too.
I don't even know what that engine is. Those are cool cars.
Yeah, it is
All
a
right,
cool car.
I got one here that has a lot of info.
Okay.
Blank, blank, blank sedan turbo.
Yep.
We're bringing to the market this beautiful and rare blank, blank, blank sedan in polar white over black leather. This two-owner blank was purchased new in Charlotte and lived on the East Coast for a few years before coming to Cali in mid-99. The second owner kept and used the car in SoCal for 25 years before recently trading it in on a new model. This blank turbo was extremely well cared for and diligently maintained, as the Carfax history report details. This was the big boy blank to own in the early 90s. There are very few blank turbos left, even fewer that maintain their fit and finish like this one. Don't miss out a chance to own this well-preserved short version of blank. This blank turbo is currently equipped with a turbocharged 4-cylinder, 165 horsepower, automatic transmission, rear-wheel drive, ice-cold AC, cruise control, power windows, locks, antenna, fog lamps, climate control, leather, sunroof, genuine blank 16-inch turbo twists. The body on the car is in very good condition, extremely well maintained. Original coat of polar white with black trim. Exterior is stunning. Filler panel on the rear bumper missing a small segment. 0 cracks in the dash. Everything works. Yada, yada, yada. We redid the headliner. That's really it for information. 4-speed automatic transmission, fluid torque converter with lockup, 2.3 liter EFI turbo inline 4, 165 horsepower.
There's not a lot of horsepower.
It's not a lot of horsepower for a fairly big displacement turbocharged car.
Turbo twists.
Factory, they described as factory turbo twist alloys.
In 99.
Nope.
I thought you said the car was a 99.
He traded it in. He brought it to Cali in 99 from the East Coast.
Oh, is there a car year?
Do we give car years initially?
Sometimes we do. I gave you one on the Ford.
Kind of. You gave me it in a roundabout way. This is a 1991 car.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense then. I was like, what on earth in 99 was turbocharged? 2.3 liter. I don't think you can still buy a. You couldn't get a Fox body with a turbo at 91, could you?
I don't think so.
Hmm.
I don't know what the last year SVO was.
Well, is it a 944?
No. It is rear-wheel drive.
Turbocharged rear-wheel drive. 4-cylinder. Oh boy.
4-speed automatic.
Speed automatic.
We got you a 2.3 turbo and we lost you at 4-speed automatic.
It's not like a Grand National.
Not in 91, it's certainly
No.
not. And that would have been a 3.8 liter. And not a 4-cylinder.
Rear-wheel drive. Oh man, I don't know. I got nothing.
Think deep, Andrew. What came with 2.3 liter 4-cylinders?
Oh. So it is would it be a 240?
You're in the
740.
right manufacturer now. You're got to go a little more upmarket.
940?
940.
Oh, weird.
1991 Volvo 940 4-door sedan turbo. $12,940.
That's not too bad.
You don't think so?
Turbo cars
For a 91 940 for 13 grand? Seems like a lot of money to me.
Yeah, turbo cars definitely.
For not a 740. The 740 I can see being worth a little bit more, but the 940 is kind of a. I don't know. It's not pretty. 740 is better looking. And by turbo twists, they probably don't know that the Volvo enthusiasts call them hydras.
Yeah.
But the seller does not know that.
If you had said hydras, that would have been all over.
I was just reading the description. I do like that they shortened it at one point to don't miss out on a chance to own this well-preserved VO.
That's weird.
Never heard that before. Yeah. I mean, it is very clean car. I just don't think it's worth 13 grand. If it was like a super low miler, maybe, but it's got 150K on it, which is low for the year. It is clean, but I don't know. I could think of better uses for 13 grand. So, you get another one for me or no?
Let's do one more quick. Finish this up.
Okay.
All right. Bought this car as a project and lost interest. This is a
Brad's entire driveway.
driver quality car ready for the season. Many recent parts upgrades. Still need bodywork and paint if you want to be a show car. It's really not that bad looking. People's perception of how bad paint is really odd.
Also, people think that cars need to be perfect to be like car show car. Like,
yeah.
No, there's a very, it doesn't have to be that way.
All right. Originally a white car that was painted red at some point. Has rare custom car concepts. T-tops in good shape. T-top frame is aluminum, so no rust, no rot up top. New windshields. Has rear window louvers, traction bars, subframe connectors. Original 5-spoke blank wheels. Subframe, rear frame rails, great shape. Good running 350, Holy Carb, electric choke, Elbrock intake. HEI distributor, headers, new oil pan, Felpro oil pan gasket, new rear main seal, flywheel, high torque starter, poly motor mounts, so it probably idles like crap.
Yeah.
Dual exhaust from the headers back. Just converted to Muncie 4-speed, her shifter, McLeod street strip clutch, new linkage, Z-bar, pedals, bearing, Spicer U-joints, poly trans mount. It's got new brakes, new headliner, blah, blah, blah.
Well, this is one of two cars. I'm going to stop you
Yep.
right there unless there's some
I think you got
humorous reason to keep going. It's probably not custom car concepts. It's probably Cars and Concepts. It's probably the name. Cars and Concepts was the name of the T-top manufacturer of Camaros in the mid-70s. So with the 350, I'm going to go with it's a Camaro, not a Pontiac. So it's going to be a 70, who knows, 77 Camaro.
On it.
77?
Yeah, 77. C28.
Yeah. People didn't normally put the T-tops in the earlier cars. And I think the later cars had factory GM T-tops. But it was like 77 and 78 maybe had the Cars and Concepts T-tops. So they're kind of like A&C, like ASC, the American sunroof company that cuts sunroofs and convertible tops into cars. Yeah.
Car literally needs
hey, an easy one to wind it up.
Car literally needs
Pretty
a
good.
buff. It doesn't need to be repainted.
Yeah. Maybe it does need to be repainted. You're only looking at pictures. I have one more that I want to read to you real fast because it's quite humorous once we get to the bottom of what it is.
Go for it.
All right, real fast. This is a blank, blank, blank sedan, 4-door. Get financed now. Get pre-approved for your $88 monthly payment. Vehicle details, 1992. 4-speed automatic. Inline 6. Double overhead cam, 16 valve, cylinder. That's it. That's all you get.
Inline 6.
Nope. 1.6 liter L4 double overhead cam, 16 valve cylinder. That's all it says. Just a cylinder. It's a 4-cylinder, obviously.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm way off tonight.
You too,
nothing.
You too, Andrew, could go to this dealership and be pre-approved for your $88 a month payment on a 1992 Toyota Corolla LE.
Oh, yeah.
I just saw this ad and I was like, man, what kind of world do you have to be in where you need to get a loan for a 1992 Toyota Corolla?
What's the price for the whole
also,
car?
They don't list that. They want you to finance it. The crazy thing, though, is that because this car exists at a dealership like this, the car is absolutely immaculate. Like, it is probably the nicest 1992 Corolla left. Inside, outside, spotless.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee this car doesn't last another year. Because the kind of person who is going to put $200 down and take home his $88 a month 92 Toyota Corolla is not the kind of person who's going to care about this car at all. And it's going to last $0, 0 days before it's trashed. So maybe not. Maybe I should go buy it. Oh, here's the price. I had to go to their website to find the price. $54.95.
Oh, still too expensive.
Yeah. The car, Andrew, legitimately is the nicest 1992 Corolla you have ever seen.
Okay, sure.
So, if it was a stick, I'd go buy it tomorrow for $88 a month. Yeah, it's at a buy here, pay here a lot in Phoenix that has some quite questionable vehicles.
Woof.
Yeah, big woof. Home of the $200 down payment. Yeah, everything in their inventory is questionable at best.
Well, on that note, let's end the podcast.
Podcast ended.
You too could support this podcast for the very low price of $0 per month.
Always.
It's free.
Never anymore.
Come join the Discord. That is also free. All you got to do is bring yourself and some project cars you got to share.
And an occasional meme.
Yep. So, as always, you can find us. I almost went into it. You can find us on Auto Off Topic Podcast on Facebook, Auto Off Topic on Instagram and Threads, and I am Raced in Anger on Instagram and Threads. And Brad, where can they find you?
I am TSI SS 350 on both those same places, and you can find me there.
All right,
Mostly.
cool. So, as always, keep your cars analog and aim for the roses.